I'm kind of looking a little cute right now, or at least I'm in the hair at least. So for this video, I more or less wanted to be talking about something a little more personal for myself. It's not really for my viewers to watch, it's more like for myself to watch in the future. So I've been reading this book called The 7 Habits for Effective People, and one of the habits is to always start with the end in mind. And that whole entire section covers this topic about mission statement, which is where you living as your own, of course, individual, you want to be living your life with some sort of goal towards the end, whether those goals or means are just to like be happy through your family, or to seek out this big dream or goal of being successful in the music industry, something like that. In order for you to be able to achieve these goals, you have to be able to define a mission statement, because if not, you most likely will be heading through life, even if you're doing good habits and have good skills and traits and good at like everything, you still could be like climbing up the wrong ladder or going in the wrong direction. So that's why like spending time to like create this mission statement will help you like define that direction for yourself of where you want to be going in life. And that's like crucial for basically anyone at any age, you know? The book states that like it's good for you to like define these things, especially in different categories. So for example, like in the broad sense, I could say, okay, I want to be someone successful with a social platform, you know. That could be a goal, but it's not exactly defining a specific category. That's more or less describing one category of my life. But I have, of course, multiple categories or multiple forms that like integrate into my life. Examples would be like as a family member, or as a son, as a brother, you know. Another one would be as a friend, as a student, as a creative, as an individual like of society and shit, and like as a lover. And so I pretty much like really already defined all these things for the most part on a Google document, but I wanted to be able to define these things for a video, for that I can like look back to it and like view like where it started from, you know. So for the most part, right, as a family member or as a brother or son, I've noticed that I've basically just been the type of family member that has done my own thing and has only involved myself in my family whenever the time asks for it. I'm not exactly the type of brother or cousin that reaches out as often as maybe as I should, so I do want to like work on that, because my overall goal in being a good brother or cousin or son is just to like be able to provide these individuals with the sort of happiness that like, you know, a normal brother or cousin should be able to give them, you know. I want to be able to like motivate them and be able to just be a positive influence on their regular life. So I guess that's the biggest thing that I have for them. I wrote down that the most effective way for me to do that, I believe, is just to like deeply involve them in my support system and, you know, try to be a part of theirs, you know. It's also to like be a part, like bring interest into the things that they give interest to, just for that like maybe they can be motivated to the point where they can exploit their own skills in that like field, you know. That's at least like in a broad sense, or in a more simple sense, what I like define for my mission statement as a family member or a brother, cousin, etc. My other field is as a friend, and honestly I feel like I've been a pretty good friend up until this point, you know. I feel like I've been someone that has always tried to have a good time with my friends, has always cherished those moments, has always, you know, never felt any anger towards them. I always only felt like compassion, friendship, and like good vibes with them, you know. My goal for them, of course, is to also be like a beacon of happiness and motivation, you know, be something that, or someone in their lives that, you know, drives them forward too, you know. It's pretty much extremely similar to like the family situation, that I want to be like involved in their personal interests too, and like be able to like get them to exploit their own skills and bring up their own success and desires, you know. And I feel like I've actually done that better for friends than I have with family, unfortunately. My other field that I wrote down was surprisingly student, and it is just because I am a student, but like I feel like I haven't been as involved as I should be. I wrote that in the past as a student, I've always had aspirations of like being something good in the field, you know. I've always wanted to do some sort of science, whether it's paleontology, astrology, or computer science, and I've always felt that I was obligated to seek something that was involved in like logic and sciences, like those fields that I mentioned earlier. I never felt as a student that I had the possibility of like, you know, seeking something in music, seeking something in art, seeking something in graphic design, video design, videography, photography. And I think it is just because I've always had this ingrained like image in my head that I had to do something in science, and if not, I was pretty much just a fucking failure. I guess my goal as a student is to be able to create something that I am able to again reap happiness from, you know? I want to be able to mold wherever I graduate from, which is probably going to be computer science in the next year. I want to be able to mold that into something that can create me a stability and happiness that'll help me further seek what I want in life, you know? Which is to again become that beacon of happiness to my friends and family, and for other things in the creative arts that I'll talk about later. That's the best way I can do that, is just to be able to focus my time on classwork, on the studies, and on these projects that I have like all over the place in this fucking semester. Gotta be able to ask for help too, you know? One of the biggest things that I haven't been able to do ever. I guess this other field that I have is my goals for being a creative, and this one I wrote a lot in, because ever since I was young I've always wanted to be something, I guess something like relatively big in like the creative arts, you know? When I was 13 I wanted to be like a YouTuber like PewDiePie, and then a couple years later I wanted to be like a fitness athlete like David Lade and Stephen Cow. I wanted to be something big in that. Now, you know, I'm over here hopping on music, and it's something enjoyable that I've found myself taking a part of and even paying classes for. So I've always been into like these creative art stuff. That's my end goal with all this stuff, is to be able to do these like songs and videos and photos, and do it all for my own enjoyment and not do it for any sort of digital image or social image. You know, I want to be able to do it for the actual enjoyment, especially if it's selfish, you know? Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to be posting those things for anyone else but myself. And that's what's like gonna get me to be able to enjoy it. As a byproduct of those things, I do want to be some sort of figure that's able to provide like guidance to those who want something similar, who are seeking some sort of direction too. I can still be a guide to someone that I don't know across the internet, surprisingly, because this is the way the world is today. Figures like PewDiePie or Logic, you know, they've been able to like give me some sort of direction without ever having said one word to me directly. So I feel like I want to be able to do some sort of similar thing in the future. It says, I wrote down that the way I'd be able to do that is just to continue spending my time like honing these skills of singing and music and videography and such. Yeah, I just really wrote about being persistent and just furthering myself and getting out of my comfort zone for fitness, learning more things for videography, just becoming an expert and a master at these crafts, so that, you know, eventually it displays, then people will recognize that it's evident that I've spent all this time on these things and that I'm like a master of them. The next one is as a person. I've always been someone that's been like shy and it's like avoiding eye contact in public, or interactions, like just out of like actual fear of those interactions for some reason. I've never been someone that's like disrespectful or like aggressive, but I feel like I've tended to show like, I guess, antisocial sort of emotions that could like, I guess, be interpreted as like anger or negative expressions or emotions. So like I want to be able to like stray away from that. I also don't exactly want to stray away from that in the sense that I've like am interacted with as a different person. I just want to, you know, solidify my personality and make it more wholesome or wholesome, that's not like perceived as a negative thing. It's perceived as a like, oh, he's like shy to like interact with people, you know? I just want to be more comfortable in my skin as like the end product, you know? I want to be like, I don't want to have to be able to think about these flaws that I perceive as flaws, you know? I want to be able to perceive them as things that are just a part of me. I wrote down that in order to do that, I really just need to be proactive with my environment and my emotions, and be able to like dictate which direction they go for that can like have better control of them. Lastly, the kind of lover that I've been, or like that I am, I guess, is or like, I guess my field in that, or my goal in that. Well, as for like the history of it, I feel like I've always been the kind of lover that focuses on the positives and not as much on like the negatives of my own actions or behaviors. I feel like I have done some, well, I've looked back at like how I've been, or like my actions and again behaviors like as an interaction with another individual when I had a partner, and I've noticed that I have had some negative interactions that were definitely my fault, but I never exactly focused on the deep source for those things, you know? I've always focused on like the positives and like the love and the compassion and the time that I would provide, and those are all good things, but I never focus on like how to minimize the source of these negative actions that I would have. I didn't fully even recognize them as negatives during the time, just because, like, I was so caught up in the moment at some points, or in emotion. So that's something that I've, I guess, been flawed in, but I definitely don't think I'm at such a bad place with that. My goal is to be able to like have someone that's like can differ from me, but still like extremely relate to in terms of my flaws and my own assets. I do want to be in a like relationship where like I'm able to provide trust and just motivation and time to like the deepest of extents with this person. There's no point in being with someone where they don't motivate me to continue seeking my goals to improve myself in these other fields if I don't do the same for them. It just doesn't make sense. So I want to be in something that allows me to be able to do that. At least for right now, that's what I believe I want. I think the way that I would be able to do that is just to really focus on like these mistakes and to be able to grow from them. But it would have to be not only my job but also the partner's job to be able to overcome that. How much is that? That's 16 minutes of talking about my goals in different fields. God damn, man. And I have to edit all this just for yeah, I'll edit it just so that I can be able to like rewatch it myself.